Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a tutorial on how I do my full coverage glowy foundation with my textured, porous, oily skin. That's quite a combo, but I know that there are others of you out there who have one or all of these issues with your skin when it comes to makeup, and so I wanted to do a tutorial that would hopefully help you guys be able to achieve a really smooth, flawless, glowy makeup look, even though you have large pores and oily skin and textured skin. This foundation routine is a lot of creams and a little bit of powder, which sounds crazy, I know. For someone who has oily skin, you think I need lots of powder to mattify. But what I've learned recently especially is when I'm a lot more modest with the powder, it tends to look better and stay better throughout the day. As long as I'm using foundations and primers that are good for people with oily skin, then I don't have any issue with my oil seeping through and causing breakup. Of course, if I used a foundation that's made for people with dry skin that's gonna be oil-based, it's going to be a slicky, sloppy mess. So make sure that your foundation, your primer, concealer, all of that is not oil-based, and you should be good. If you guys are all interested in seeing my full coverage glowy foundation routine, then just keep watching. Don't mind my red patchiness. I don't know. I have fair skin, so it just happens. Before I get started, I want to talk a little bit about skincare. If you have really textured, porous, problematic skin, if you have any type of skin, really you need to make sure that before you apply your makeup, you clean it with some kind of cleanser that's going to really pull all the dirt and the gunk out of your pores. If you don't do that, what's going to happen is your pores are going to be filled with a bunch of dirt, leftover makeup, whatever be it. And when you apply your foundation, it's not going to absorb into the skin, which is what you want it to do. What's going to happen is it's going to sit on top of the pores that are filled with all the dirt and leftover makeup, and it's going to just slip and slide and move throughout the day. It's not going to last. So you definitely want to make sure that you cleanse your skin and that you get all of the gunk and the dirt out of your pores. After you do that, if you have textured, problematic skin like I do, especially around the nose and the cheek area, I have large pores, I have really dry skin right here, I like to use an exfoliator. What that does is it helps pull off the dead, dry skin off the face and give it a nice, smooth surface. The exfoliator that I like to use is by Dr. Brandt. It's this Microdermabrasion age-defying exfoliator. This came in Boxycharm. It's really expensive. You don't have to use this kind. I just use it because I got it in Boxycharm, really. But any exfoliator that you like will do. The next thing I always make sure to do, now this is for all you oily skin people who might think, I have really oily skin, I don't really like to use that much moisturizer because I'm already super wet. I just want to say that that is not true. Even us oily faced people need to make sure that we really moisturize our skin. I think it's almost more important for us because we already overproduce oil. So if you wash your face and you pull all the oils out, our skin is going to majorly compensate for that, and it's going to produce even more oil. When you clean and exfoliate your face, make sure you moisturize the heck out of it. And I am super liberal with the amount I use after I clean my face, because you know how it feels really tight after you clean it? That's because it's super dehydrated. So bringing that moisture back is really going to help your makeup application as well. The moisturizer, in case any of you guys are interested, that I have loved using is this CeraVe moisturizing lotion. I love using it because it really works for any skin types. It works for dry skin, it works for oily skin, it works for regular skin, sensitive skin, mature skin. I haven't had any issue with this moisturizer. I love it. This tub of it is about $10, so it's really affordable when you think about how much you get. This is 16 ounces, so it's huge. The next step is a primer. Now, those of you that have been watching my videos for a while know that I don't typically use a primer. I would just go right in with foundation, but I actually think that I found a primer that I really like. Now, I don't put primer all over my face. I I just put primer in the areas where my pores are really, really pronounced. And that is on my nose and right here on my cheeks and a little bit on my chin and my forehead. Just basically my T-zone. This Cover FX blurring primer that came in Boxycharm is one that I have been loving actually. I feel like it really truly does blur the skin, and it really does help fill those pores and create a smooth surface for your foundation application. So what I do is I just take a little bit of it and I put it on the tip of my fingers, about like a pea-sized amount, because like I said, I don't like to put it all over my face, just where I have large pores. I'll use my finger and I'll just press it in. Right here on the cheeks. And I don't know if you can tell, I'll zoom it in a little bit, but it does really help blur those pores a little bit. And then on my nose as well. And as you can see, I'm pressing it in. That's what I'm literally going to be doing with everything. I'm going to be pressing it in. I'm not going to be rubbing it in because I want to fill those pores up. Now it's time to go in with foundation. The foundation that I like using is MAC Studio Fix Plus. The reason why I love this foundation is because it just seems to work well with any skin type. I like it because it's not super full coverage, but you can build it up to be full coverage. And if you want a lighter, less coverage foundation, then you can just use a little bit of it and it doesn't look super heavy at all. If you're someone who has really textured skin, you want to make sure that you're not going to use foundation that's mattifying, because that is going to cling to all of your dry patches and your texture. I would even be careful to get something that's too luminous as well, because if you have oily skin, then it's going to just create a big slippery mess on your face, and you don't want that either. So I would recommend using foundation that is good for all skin types. A drugstore foundation that I found that works really well on a lot of people that I've used it on with different skin types is the Maybelline Superstay foundation. As long as I follow the same prep routine that I do, that I'm showing you in this video, with cleansing and exfoliating and moisturizing the heck out of my face, the Maybelline Superstay foundation stays on really well. It looks beautiful and I have no issues with it breaking up and moving throughout the day. I am mixing a little bit of NW20 and a little bit of NW10 because I have a fake tan on right now. I usually just use this NW10, but I'm a little darker than that right now. So I mix about half and half of these together. And then I just dab it all over my face. Put down the neck because we don't want a mask. I'm going to take my Real Technique sponge and I'm going to start pressing that into the face. Like I said, with every step, it's about pressing into the face. I don't want to rub it in. I've got a little bit more that I'm going to add just to areas where I have a little bit more redness. The concealer that I love using right now is by Ulta, actually. It is the Ulta Full Coverage Liquid Concealer. The reason why I like this concealer is because it has really great coverage, but it's not super thick. It feels lightweight in the under eye area. One of the concealers that I've loved for a long time because it has really amazing coverage is the Tarte Shape Tape. However, the Tarte Shape Tape is really thick and it tends to crease really badly underneath my eyes. So I've been gravitating towards more lightweight foundations that still have really good coverage. And I have been loving this for that. I know that the NARS Creamy Concealer is one that a lot of people rave about because it is similar in texture. However, I have not used it yet. But I really also like the Makeup Revolution concealer. It reminds me a lot of the Tarte Shape Tape, but it's not as thick. So if you like Tarte Shape Tape, but the one thing that you don't like about it is how thick it is, try the Makeup Revolution concealer. Let me know what you think. I love it. I'm gonna go ahead and place it all over my under eyes. I'm gonna start on the sides of my nose here and then bring it out. And I'm just gonna put it in all the places that I normally want to highlight. I'm going to take the pointed side of that Beauty Blender, and again, I'm just pressing it into the skin, not rubbing it in any way. As you can see, my pores, you can still see them a little bit, but they're greatly reduced after all of those steps and after just pressing all of my foundation in instead of rubbing it around. It looks a lot more smooth. Definitely full coverage makeup, does not look cakey, does not look splotchy, and my pores are minimized, which is what I want because I want this to be really glowy. And if you're not careful and you don't spend a lot of time making sure that your base looks really smooth, when you apply your highlighter, whether it be powder or liquid, it's going to really accentuate your pores. The last thing you want to do is highlight them even more. My under eye area always creases no matter what concealer I use, so what I like to do now is I like to come in with a powder just to bake my under eye area here. So first I'm going to make sure that that concealer is blended out. And then I'm going to take my Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. I really like this stuff. It's actually really brightening. This is the shade 05 in Fair. And then I just put a little bit of that loose powder on the lid, just dab the very tip of this, and I'm just gonna pack it right on the under eye area and nowhere else. I'm not going to come in with any more powders because I'm going to cream contour, I'm going to cream highlight. The reason why I like to do this is because when I use all creams, it just, in my opinion, looks more smooth, more luminous, and more flawless. Even if you're oily, just try it. See what you think. I'm an oily girl, and this has worked really, really good for me. I am using this Makeup Revolution The One Sculpt Contour Stick. Go ahead and just run this all over the areas of the face that I want to chisel. So, sides. So under my cheekbones here, and then sides of the forehead, the temple, and then along the jaw. And I do some stripes down there to hide the double chin. And then I'll even bring it along the sides of the nose as well. A little bit under the lip. Grab a makeup sponge that's a little bit smaller. It's just easier to use. Make sure it's damp. And I start blending that in. Again, just like with everything else, I'm not going to rub it in, I'm going to dab it in. I just love this cream contour stick. It is such a pretty color. It's definitely buildable, but also super subtle if you don't use a lot. Just love it. next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a liquid bronzer. The liquid bronzer I've been loving using also came in Boxycharm. It is this liquid bronzer by Temptu. Temptu is a company that makes these foundation guns, if you know what I'm talking about, where it sprays like airbrush foundation, bronzer, and highlight and all that. I don't have one of those, but I love just using this on its own to bronze up my face, but you can really use any liquid bronzer that you love. I just like to make sure it's one that has a good amount of shine to it, shimmer I guess I could say, so that it helps my face look more glowy. I'm skipping blush because lately I've been liking just adding more bronzer to the cheeks to give myself a more glowy sun-kissed look. So I just take a little bit of this bronzer on the back of my hand like so, and then I just take this end of that small sponge and I just start dabbing it on to my cheeks and around the perimeter of my face, all the places that I would normally bronze. So I start here on my cheek and just work it around there. And I like to cover the full apple of my cheek since I'm not coming in with a blush. And as you can see, it just helps give a really pretty glow to the face. Some of you might be thinking that this looks super intense, and you're right. So what I do to soften it up a little bit so it's not quite as dark is I take my other sponge, the end where I use the foundation, and I just dab that over the top. Just to soften that up a little bit. Just makes a little bit of a difference there. And see, it just has this most subtle glow, which just helps my foundation look more luminous than it normally would on its own. The next step is a liquid highlighter. The liquid highlighter that I've been using lately is also by Temptu. These both came in Boxycharm on different months. This is the Temptu and Boxycharm collab liquid glow, and I do the same thing. I take, but you can use any liquid highlighter that you love. And I do the same thing. I just dab it on the back of my hand, except for when I'm doing my highlighter, I like to use my finger just to give me a little bit more control. So now I'm going to focus this kind of in this C area right here. So I start at the tops of my cheekbones, and then I just work it with my finger all around there, focusing a little bit more on the sides of my forehead above my brows. And then I'll start working on blending it out a little bit more. There we go. Now you can see it just adds a really pretty sheen. It makes my face look super, super luminous. Now I'm going to take my sponge that I used to apply the Maybelline Fit Me loose powder, and I'm going to start setting my under eye area. I'm going to avoid where I placed the highlighter, just really blending out where I was baking my under eye area and then working along the sides of the nose there, kind of in that triangle shape to set it. As you can see, this is going to help brighten that under eye area as well. And again, I'm not coming in with a brush, I'm not brushing, I'm not blending it out with a brush. I'm taking this sponge and I'm pressing that powder in. Same thing on the other side. I'm going to do this on all the areas of my face where I'm oily, so here on the center as well. Dab it lightly down the center of my nose. And my chin. Take it along here to help carve out your cheekbones a little bit more and brighten up this area if you'd like. For the rest of my face, I like to grab a finishing powder that's got a little bit of color to it. I'm gonna grab this Ulta Beauty finishing powder. It is lightweight matte finish. I use the tiniest amount. I don't want to cover up too much of the shimmer and the glowiness that I've got going on, but I do want my makeup to not move throughout the day. So I take this fluffy brush. I'm using the Aesthetica P12 brush. I just lightly dip it in to the pan here, and I just press it right over the areas that I contoured and bronzed, just like that. Not brushing it, I'm just pressing it in. It's still there, it still looks luminous. This is just gonna help it stay put throughout the day. I'm going to want to use a finishing spray before I apply my powder highlighter. The reason why I want to do that is because spraying your face first is going to help intensify the highlight, which is what I want to do. I want to look super glowy. So to set my face, I'm actually going to use this Garnier Skin Active Soothing Facial Mist with Rosewater. I actually have been loving this for setting my face. It's super hydrating, and it also just helps everything melt together really well. For a highlighter, I'm going to use this Ofra highlighter in the Day of Drive. Ofra highlighters are super pigmented, so I'm just going to take it and concentrate on the high points of my cheeks. See, spraying the face first really intensifies the highlight. Like I barely tapped in. And then I'm gonna bring it up my forehead, kind of around that C shape. And then I like to use my finger to dab it on the tip of my nose. Right, and that is pretty much my foundation, bronzer, concealer, contour, highlight routine. So I'm going to go finish my lips and put some mascara on my lower lash line, and I'll be right back. Alright you guys, that is it for this glowy, full coverage foundation routine for textured, oily, problematic skin. I'm not sure what I'm gonna call it yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and zoom you guys in so you can see what my foundation looks like now that it's fully on with all the goods. So you can see that this is full coverage, but my pores, even though they're still visible, they're much more smooth and less visible than they were before I started applying my makeup. There's no fancy camera filter. I'm not that fancy anyways, but there's no fancy camera filter on here blurring my face. What you see is what you get here. If you guys thought this video was informative and helpful, please let me know by giving this video a thumbs up. Leave comments or questions you have down below. I really truly do want these videos to be informative and helpful, or else what am I doing here? Love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in my next video.